La Llorona, the weeping woman who crossed borders. A woman stands at the edge of a river. She is dressed in white. She is weeping. And if you hear her, if you hear that cry cutting through the dark, every instinct you have will tell you to run. Not because you don't know what she wants, but because you do. She's searching for her children, the ones she drowned, the ones she'll never find. This is La Llorona, the weeping woman, a ghost older than borders, a mother who became a monster, a warning passed down in whispers for over 400 years, and she's still out there, still searching, still weeping, still waiting by the water. The legend lives wherever Spanish is spoken and water runs dark. The canals of Xochimilco in Mexico City, the Rio Grande, cutting between two nations, the irrigation ditches of New Mexico, the San Antonio River, desert arroyos that flood without warning, any place where the living meet the liminal, where the boundary between worlds grows thin. She appears at night, always near water, always alone, always weeping. In countless homes across Mexico, Central America, and the American Southwest, the warning is the same. Don't stay out after dark. Don't go near the river alone. If you hear a woman crying, don't answer. If you see her in white, don't look. Run. It's not a campfire story. It's a rule, a boundary drawn between safety and something that cannot be reasoned with. Because La Llorona doesn't haunt for revenge. She haunts because she cannot stop. The accounts are consistent across centuries. A figure in a white dress, sometimes a veil, long dark hair. A face that some say is beautiful, others say is skeletal, rotted, drowned. She walks the riverbanks calling out, "Mis hijos, ¿dónde están mis hijos? My children, where are my children?" Her voice is close when she's far, far when she's close, and if you follow the sound, you'll find the water. In some versions, that's where the story ends. You're found drowned the next morning. In others, she mistakes you for her children, reaches for you, pulls you under. In the oldest versions, the cry alone is enough. To hear her is to know death is coming, for you, or for someone you love. The legend didn't begin with Spain. It began in the darkness before the fall. In the final years of the Aztec Empire, the chroniclers recorded an omen, a woman's voice wailing through the streets of Tenochtitlan at night. "Oh, my children, we are lost. Oh, my children, where shall I take you?" The goddess Cihuacōātl, the serpent woman, patroness of childbirth and midwives, but also of death, of sacrifice, of the boundary between creation and destruction. She wept for the world about to end, for the children about to be swallowed by conquest. And when the Spanish came, when Tenochtitlan burned, her cry didn't stop. It transformed. By the 16th and 17th centuries, the story had a new shape. A woman, sometimes indigenous, sometimes mestiza, sometimes Spanish, falls in love. In most versions, the man is wealthy, a landowner, a nobleman, a conquistador. She bears his children, 2, sometimes 3. He promises her everything, then he leaves. For a woman of his own class, for a life she was never meant to share. In her grief, her rage, her desperation, she takes the children to the river and she drowns them one by one, holds them under until the water goes still. When she realizes what she's done, she screams, throws herself into the current, dies searching for the children she just killed, and the river doesn't let her rest. In some versions, she has a name, Doña Luisa de Olveros, a woman in 16th century Mexico City who was said to have murdered her children and been executed for it. Her ghost, they said, wandered the canals, weeping, searching, never finding. But there's no verified record, no trial document, no grave, just the story, passed from mouth to ear, from generation to generation. Because the truth was never the point, the grief was. As the legend spread, it changed, adapted, reflected the fears and traumas of each community that carried it. In some versions, she didn't kill them out of rage, she killed them out of mercy, to spare them from starvation, from slavery, from a war that would take them anyway. In others, it was an accident. She was fevered, mad with grief after losing her husband. She thought she was bathing them, and the river took them before she understood. In still others, the man didn't just leave. He took the children, gave them to his new wife, told the mother she'd never see them again, and she drowned herself, searching the water for children who were still alive, somewhere she could never reach. One version ties La Llorona to the most famous woman in Mexican history, La Malinche, Doña Marina, the indigenous translator given to Hernán Cortés, the mother of his children, the woman who helped him conquer an empire and was abandoned when she was no longer useful. In this telling, La Llorona is her ghost, weeping not just for her children, but for her people, for the world she helped destroy, for the impossible choice between survival and betrayal. It's a version that carries the weight of colonization itself, the grief of a culture drowned. Some scholars argue La Llorona is purely a Spanish colonial creation, a Catholic morality tale about the wages of sin, a warning to women about the consequences of desire, rage, and disobedience. Others insist the roots are older, that Cihuacōātl's wail echoes through every version, that the legend is indigenous grief dressed in colonial clothing. The truth is likely both. A pre-Columbian goddess, a colonial-era moral lesson, a living story shaped by centuries of trauma, migration, and survival. And through it all, people keep seeing her, hearing her. In the 1950s, in San Antonio, a woman reported seeing a figure in white by the river, weeping. When she approached, the figure turned. Its face was a skull. In the 1970s, in Xochimilco, boatmen refused to work certain canals after dark. Too many had heard the crying, felt the cold, seen the woman who shouldn't be there. In the 1990s, along the Rio Grande, Border Patrol agents reported a woman in white walking the riverbanks at night. When they called out, she vanished. The reports continue. Not every year, not in every place, but enough. Enough to keep the warning alive. On the surface, La Llorona is a cautionary tale. Stay away from the river. Come home before dark. Obey your parents. Don't wander. It's a story that keeps children safe, that draws a line between the known world and the dangerous unknown. But it's more than that. It's also a story about the impossible weight of motherhood, the expectation that a woman will sacrifice everything, endure anything. And if she breaks, if grief, rage, or desperation makes her do the unthinkable, she will be condemned forever, not forgiven, not understood, turned into a monster, a warning to other women about what happens when you fail. And in the versions where a man's betrayal is the catalyst, the story asks a question. Who is the real monster? The woman driven to madness by abandonment and cruelty, or the man who walked away, consequence-free, while she drowned in grief? The legend doesn't always answer, but it remembers. La Llorona didn't stay in Mexico. She followed migration routes north, crossed the Rio Grande with families fleeing violence and poverty, settled in the barrios of Los Angeles, the campos of California, the deserts of Arizona and New Mexico. Wherever people carried the language, they carried the story. And wherever they settled, she appeared. Because the grief that created her, the loss, the betrayal, the impossible choices, doesn't respect borders. It travels, it adapts, it survives. Today, La Llorona is many things: a horror icon, a cultural touchstone, a symbol of maternal grief and gendered violence, a reminder of colonization's wounds, a story that refuses to die because the pain that birthed it hasn't died either. She is the mother who lost everything, the woman punished for a man's sins, the ghost of a world that drowned, and she's still searching, still weeping, still walking the edge of the water, waiting. There's a reason La Llorona endures, not because she's terrifying, though she is, but because she's impossible to forget. She is every mother's worst fear, every child's nightmare, the warning that echoes across generations because the world keeps creating the conditions that birthed her. Betrayal, poverty, impossible choices, grief that has nowhere to go but into the water. In some communities, she's become something else, not just a monster, not just a warning, but a remembrance of women who had no power, of children who had no protection, of a history written in drowning and tears. She carries the weight of every mother who lost a child to violence, to poverty, to a world that didn't care. Every woman who made a choice no one should have to make, and couldn't live with it after. The legend changes, but the core remains. A woman in white, a river in the dark, a cry that won't stop. Mis hijos, ¿dónde están mis hijos? She'll never find them. She knows that, but she cannot stop searching, cannot stop weeping, cannot cross over to wherever the dead are supposed to go, because the river that took them won't give them back, and the world that broke her won't let her rest. So she walks, generation after generation, border after border, a ghost that refuses to fade, a warning that refuses to be forgotten, a grief that cannot be drowned. If you're ever near water at night and you hear a woman crying, remember the warning. Don't answer, don't look, don't follow the sound, because La Llorona is still out there, still searching for what she destroyed, still weeping for what she'll never find. And if she mistakes you for one of her children, the river will be the last thing you see. She is the mother who became a monster, the victim who became a curse, the woman who drowned her children and drowned herself in grief. And she will wander the riverbanks forever, searching for forgiveness that will never come, for children who will never answer, for peace that the water will never grant. La Llorona, the weeping woman, a legend older than the borders she crosses, a warning carried in whispers, a grief that will not die. And somewhere tonight, near water, in the dark, she's still calling out, still searching, still weeping, still waiting for an answer that will never come.